Canada has a rich tradition of entrepreneurship, it is home to an ever-growing number of obstacles for founders. In this interview, we will discuss some common legal hurdles faced by entrepreneurs in Canada and what you can do about them. We had the opportunity to speak with Brett Colvin, co-founder and CEO of Goodlawyer. Brett has overseen Goodlawyer's growth from inception to a 25-plus persons team. Brett was a corporate lawyer for more than 4 years, and he experienced firsthand that most business owners cannot afford the legal help they need. So he quit the big firm, teamed up with a developer and designer, and got to work on building something better. In this podcast, Brett discusses the legal hurdles faced by founders and SMEs in Canada today, why are these legal hurdles so difficult for them to overcome, and he also emphasized the importance of access to legal services for SMEs and founders, and what are some of the ways that Goodlawyer helps founders succeed. To learn more about Goodlawyer, visit their website, goodlawyer.ca. Hi, Brett. On behalf of Canadian SME, I'd like to welcome you to our small business podcast. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. Up in Edmonton for 500 Global and coming at you live from a phone booth, but doing well.
Very glad to know, and we're very pleased for you to be here with us this afternoon. Now, Brett, the challenges that small business owners face in Canada are many and varied, but one thing they all have in common is the need for legal advice. Now, before starting Goodlawyer, you were a corporate lawyer for more than 4 years, and you have experienced firsthand that most business owners cannot afford the legal help they need. Brett, can you share with our audience what are the top 3 legal hurdles faced by founders and SMEs in Canada today, and why are these legal hurdles so difficult for founders and SMEs to overcome?
The 3 for me would be price, transparency, and service. And I can kind of break those down a little bit further. I grew up in the big corporate law firm environment. And, one of the things I always thought to myself was that I could never afford my own billable rate. I grew up also running small businesses. So I understood even at an early age, the importance of contracts and that kind of thing, but really practicing in the corporate world for 4+ years, I understood how important legal tools can be to growing and scaling your business. And it was just so unfortunate that so few people could access that expertise because, $500 an hour is just out of reach for most small business owners, which leads to the second piece, which is transparency. $500 an hour, okay, but how many hours is it going to take you? And, the number of founders, small business owners that I've spoken to on this Goodlawyer journey, it's incredible the number of them that, bring up very viscerally their experience of getting a surprise bill, often in the physical mail months later. And it's, hard to understand what are all these like 0.1s, 0.2s and like little descriptions. That's how we keep time and track your bill. And there's just like such a distaste for that type of a product offering even when it comes to a service. And, I think it leads a lot of entrepreneurs to just avoid lawyers entirely, do it themselves or just sweep it under the rug. And, that's why we started Goodlawyer and why we're building it today is to create an environment where good lawyers can provide that specialized expertise to the founders, the entrepreneurs, the small business owners who need it, but in a way that makes sense, lower prices, upfront prices, and then backing on the third piece, which is the service. We've got a legal concierge team dedicated to making sure that, customers have a fantastic time when they're going through Goodlawyer and that we match them with the right lawyer and that, they're getting a really good price. And, I think I've heard it a number of times as well. We're the only, legal service provider that does follow-up calls with every one of our customers to make sure that you had a great experience. And if you didn't, to learn why not, so we can improve for the next time. So those would be the big 3 for me, how, law has always been this obstacle and we're trying to turn it more into this opportunity, this tool that you can use to grow your business in a way that makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, in a world where access to legal services is becoming increasingly difficult, it's more important than ever for small businesses and entrepreneurs in Canada to have representation. But how important is it for founders to have access to legal services? And what are some of the ways that Goodlawyer helps founders succeed?
Touching on the earlier comments I was making, 83% of legal needs in Canada go unmet. And, that's more than 3 out of 4 entrepreneurs who, have a legal question, not getting it answered, certainly not by a lawyer. And I think it puts your business at risk. But one thing that, we focus on at Goodlawyer is not just the risk mitigation, but the opportunity creation. And, one great example that I always like to bring up is equity compensation. This one might be more specific to any startups listening, or any businesses with like huge growth ambitions and considering partnerships. Building in equity compensation to align your employees, the owners of the company, everybody's interests is a really powerful tool that far too few businesses actually use, because it's a little daunting, it's confusing, and so they just don't even know it's an option. And I can tell you that there's no way Goodlawyer would be at where we're at today. Helped 3,000 founders last year. We don't do that without equity compensation as a tool to attract and keep amazing talent. So that's just one example of how, the law can be a weapon for your business to grow and succeed, as opposed to just this annoying document you got to get created and, you're ripping it off the internet.
Why would an entrepreneur choose Goodlawyer over a conventional law firm? Like, why? Well, what do you think sets Goodlawyer apart from other legal services?
Well, that is a layup. So I appreciate that question. I've kind of touched on it, so I won't beat a dead horse too bad. But law firms were not built for small business owners. They were built for large enterprise, where paying $500, $600, $700, $800 an hour is just the cost of doing business, and it's a non-issue. For all of the business owners, across Canada who, it's not a no-brainer to, go ahead with a law firm because, it's a contract, we need someone to do it, spending $4,000 on it's no big deal. Where that is a big deal, it becomes a really hard hurdle to overcome. It's scary. Again, I'm kind of touching on the same things. It's scary, it's expensive, outcomes are not guaranteed in any sort of way. And that's what we're trying to strip away by making lawyers' lives a lot easier, taking away all the business pieces because they're not good at pricing, they're not good at quoting. By stripping all of the business aspects away from them practicing, we're able to cut out the law firm. And by cutting out the law firm, we're able to save a tremendous amount for the client. We're able to give the lawyers a much fairer share of the work that they do. And I think ultimately that's how we differ the most from law firms, is that we've built a platform that decentralizes and can still provide that expertise, but in a way that is incredibly low overhead, incredibly unbloated relative to law firms. The real estate they have to get for the downtown skyscrapers, like these types of things that I used to work in. And just trying to flip that on its head so that more entrepreneurs, more founders can get access to the legal expertise that, frankly, is going to help them grow their business.
Now, Brett, Goodlawyer is based in Calgary, and Calgary has been recognized as, one of the most vibrant tech scenes in all Canada, with, developers flocking from, around this country just for opportunities there. What do you think about Calgary's tech and startup scenario? And do you see Calgary's tech and startup, scene continuing to grow in the future or not?
Absolutely. I mean, Calgary's on the come up right now. And I think that was a pretty flattering description of where the startup scene is at today. It's absolutely growing, and I suspect it's growing faster than possibly anywhere else in Canada. It's still early though, and we have so much room to continue, attracting amazing startups, fostering them within our ecosystem, and just building a greater sense of community amongst the startups, because we're still a little bit displaced in Calgary. And, for me, that's my hometown, and trying to create space even within the context of Goodlawyer for more startups, because we help a lot of startup founders. And so, we're able to help them on the legal front from a service perspective, but we're also able to attract a lot of them from a community perspective and bring these startups together. And that's been a really cool development over the past year. We got our first HQ in the summer last year, and we intend on doing more and more of that. And I think Calgary, cost of living is better than Toronto, Vancouver. It's got this incredible downtown that's largely sitting empty. And, we're even in conversations with various levels of government and kind of key players in the industry on ways to develop those spaces and get more startups not just in Calgary, but even more specifically downtown, and just working around each other, because I think that's where the magic's going to happen, is when you can have those collisions and bringing the startups together. Now that the world's starting to open up, certainly it is here in Alberta, and I think it's this fantastic opportunity to be a startup in Calgary, to think about moving to Calgary to build your startup, and we've got a few exciting projects in the works that I look forward to sharing in the next month or two.
That's great to know. Now, Brett, the social impact of a company is an important factor in its success. What do you think is the most important thing for a company to have in order to have a positive social impact? And, could you talk about your social impact? And on a final note, what is the social problem you're trying to solve?
I mean, that's a great question. And I think if you're wanting to have a social impact in our world, we call that doing good. Do good. It's our first value. It's got to start somewhere authentic. And, I'm not setting out to solve all the world's problems. That was never my mission. I want to solve one really big problem. And the access to justice crisis, which, in my world, 100% includes all of those entrepreneurs, business owners that aren't getting any legal help because there's too much friction, it's too far away. I bucket that into the access issue, because to me, we're holding our entrepreneurs back by this huge obstacle that is, the traditional law firm and extortion and billable hours. So for me, doing good and being authentic about it is key. And, my big problem that, keeps me up at night is, how do we make legal services more accessible to entrepreneurs? Because to me, entrepreneurs are the ones that are changing the world. And if we can help, smooth out their journey and help more of them succeed, then, mission accomplished.
I'm really glad we had the chance to speak about the challenges SMEs face when, accessing legal advice, and really appreciate the work you do in making it accessible to them for their success and growth. And you've shed a lot of light on the importance of it as well. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, for being so insightful, Brett. I think our audience will be pleased by hearing from you.
Well, I appreciate the chat. You gave me a lot of layups today, so it was nice to be able to tell the story. And, we've grown a tremendous amount in this past year and a half, and really excited to see what the future holds. And, for any entrepreneurs listening right now, just go to goodlawyer.ca and you can book your first service on the house. Everybody gets a free first one. So you can take it for a spin, get a little bit of legal advice if there's a question niggling or keeping you up. So check us out, goodlawyer.ca. And thanks again so much for having me.
Thank you so much for the information, Brett. Thank you. It was amazing chatting with Brett. Good Lawyer empowers clients and lawyers to work together in a way that's better for everyone. By leveraging technology, they make it easier, faster, and more affordable for you to hire a good lawyer. Visit goodlawyer.ca to learn more. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please do share the podcast and feel free to check out the other episodes. And do not forget to subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine to stay up to date on all our upcoming events and get the top business insights from industry leaders. We'll see you next time.